learn to an election. Live in the hills, but I still get a spread. Started with a little, but I still reinvest it. Fear how I feel, then you feel like a blessing. I just want the lesson, I just want protection. I'm up and I'm down, but they sound like progression. Farmer never plans if he waits for perfection. Finger to the down, hold it down, we gon' get it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got your watch list coming in on November 3rd, 2020, and we have to talk about the 2020 election and what to expect tomorrow as far as trading-wise. So I want to talk about what we are going to be looking at, or I guess how tomorrow is going to play out, what it's going to be like after hours. Even I have a special set of plays for you guys. I want to talk about pretty much all of the industries that could be affected. So this watch list may even go beyond just today. You could even say for November, all of the stocks. So there's a lot we're going to cover, but everything is dependent upon tomorrow. However, you still have other events this week. So I want to talk about tomorrow, what to expect, how we're going to play it. I have the keys, everything else, as well as the other earnings plays and other plays we might even make for the long term. And that is pretty much it. So let us not delay. You guys know what you need to do. Drop your thumbs up on the video. Make sure you're subscribed. And if you don't know, we are live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes before open. It's the first link in the description, and it is pinned in the comments. We better see you there in the morning. It's free $99. It costs you nothing to join. YouTube.com/the-stock-market. You can post the plays, see the plays, watch the watch list come to life. And yes, if you want to watch the election live like everybody else, apparently that's the word on the street, we will be doing it live tomorrow, and it will probably affect our schedule tomorrow. And tomorrow is the place to be. We've waited all year for this, ladies and gentlemen. And the most important thing you need to do, post or watch this below. Let us know what you're looking at. Got any plays, comments, remixes, anything, post them below and source that info. Shout out to Chad, baby. So right off the bat, as far as what to expect, it is interesting. We may want to even go back to the S&P chart, is where we are at and what this means in this range. This is a critical level as far as moving averages, technicals, everything. Again, the market is undecided, even down to the straight statistics of the market. We've talked about this, both 3-month performance and year to date. I said this exactly the same on yesterday's watch list, but it's interesting to see we're closing right above that coming into the day before, and today we saw a positive gain. So putting this into context, I want you to see this because this is that range we're looking for, that election range and election zone we've been talking about. Again, we've been talking about it so much. Tomorrow is the final trading day, so wherever the market closes is going to be important, and then after hours, but then we'll talk about that. But this is the range we need to keep in mind for tomorrow. So now looking at how we traded today you had a gap up, and then it kind of held pretty good within a range. It kind of broke out and got a little big. That was 3 points, but for the most part, it was pretty tight and kind of like the days we've seen before. So now putting this into context for tomorrow, what I'm expecting is a day like we saw today. We might get a gap up, or it might open the same and move very quickly and kind of resemble a gap up in the first 3 minutes. That we will see the news. There's not going to be too many earnings companies that will affect things tomorrow, so it's going to really be election related or any of those headlines. But I think we are either going to cling to a top end or a lower end of that range. So we're either going to stay around that higher 330 range and maybe point a little bit higher, or we might go towards the lower end around like 323 to 320. So it really depends how the market digests everything. Again, the earnings continuations and how we take it. But what I want you to think about is this is like an earnings move. Think the day before earnings for a company. We've been getting to see it. You guys just saw Apple, Amazon, and all that, and those are important. But now just think about that for the country and the overall S&P. Everything's holding at these critical ranges, and everything, and even the rest of the world is kind of waiting for it. So there is other important factors we're going to talk about. And tomorrow, even after the election at night, you may not even get a real response. But the fact is that kind of checkpoint window date, as long as it's gone past, that could get rid of a lot of implications and immediate expectations that people had, or confirm them. So that is for tomorrow and what to expect. Again, tomorrow is the election. You are not going to get the results till later or hear stuff. So pretty much this is how it kind of played out last year. I'm expecting our range for tomorrow and then after hours, and most of the move is going to occur after hours. You will see futures react, and then pre-market tomorrow will be very exciting. And then by the morning, the first hour or so, we'll be able to get an idea. So most of the action and what to expect tomorrow is setting up for earnings for the country. After hours, you're going to see the move pre-market, and then from there and what other information comes there in the market reaction, we will be able to react. So that is the expectation. Even we will talk about the plays and what we need to get into as far as how I'm playing it. I'm not really changing anything. We might scale into a little bit long-term stock, believe it or not, before the election. We talked about that a little bit today, but if anything, I said this on stream, this is my election approach moving forward from here. I'm going to wait until election day passes, take whatever information, and then I want to see how the market positions winners and losers and what the market does from there, and pretty much bandwagon from that. The example I gave earlier today is like it's Christmas. You could either decide now, and I encourage all of you to make your own decisions, be smart. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, option trader, extremely risky, can lose almost financial advisor, lose all financial advisor, but at the same time, this is your portfolios. You guys could do it, and you're going to look back and ask yourself, what did you do before the election? Did you try to go against it? Did you try to make a big bet? Did you play conservative? Did you play aggressive? Did you sell stock? What was it? For me, I'm holding it coming into here, and then as far as positioning anything else, I'm waiting until we know what's going to happen. And that example is Christmas. You could decide what you're going to do today. You could see the presents all wrapped until we figure out what is actually going to happen. The presents will get open, and then we could say, okay, I want that present after it's been unwrapped. And that's kind of how I'm deciding to make my investments moving forward. There's a lot of big boxes under the tree. There's a lot of different stuff, but it's all wrapped. You don't know what's going to be big. It may seem big at first and end up being a toothbrush or socks, and then the small box might be holding the keys to a new car. And none of my Christmases were ever like that except for the toothbrushes, okay? Either way, it's going to be exciting. I said it yesterday. It's better to be late than wrong, but this is a moment that we have waited for a very long time, and to expect some movement and volatility afterwards, I would not be surprised. So there is going to be opportunity at every single end. We are trying to maximize it and take advantage. So it's a little bit of a wait and see approach, but I know exactly how I'm going to get ready to align. I'm just kind of getting ready and then taking in everything before then. So as far as everything else for tomorrow, not election related, even what we saw today, good economic and manufacturing data that drove up foreign and domestic markets here. So that data was good, but now the main event is going to be Powell as well too. And this is important. And a lot of people have even talked about this, even though it is Joe Biden versus Trump, one of the most important characters in terms of what the stock market or economy is going to do and what it has done for presidents is the Fed chair. And that is Mr. Jerome Powell and Fed policy. So we're going to hear from Powell depending on what we've seen with TLT and the dollar. And now this election, that could be important. I think it is important, but then think earnings. So I think the Powell effect will be rolled in after we see what happens with the election. So like I'm saying, the election is just like a checkpoint day. Even if nothing technically happens, something will happen, but you're going to be able to see. The idea is clear the date, and then we figure out what's happening from there, and then all eyes will be on Powell after that. So it's going to be exciting. You've waited a long time for this. I hope you're ready, but that is pretty much it. So let us get into the plays. So right off the bat, I have a special one for you. I have all of the industries, and this is kind of based off of the election. So this was brought up a lot on stream. I kind of hinted at it yesterday. I want to go a little bit in depth of it because I have different things you could look at, and it's kind of looking at it from a perspective of regardless of who wins. And then some you could kind of get the idea like gold, but I will be watching healthcare and banking. They will have a special boost in all of this, given the nature of politics in those industries and how they get affected and who wins. So I am going to be watching those two. I think those will be the most heavily impacted by the election. I'm going to be watching those two industries and seeing what develops again after the election day, and then we'll even watch those coming into it. Oil is going to be clapped no matter what. That, again, these are all my opinion on here. I talked about it today. Oil has already been struggling all of this year. There is the pandemic and a lot of other factors. Although Trump, you could say, has been accommodative, the fact is that oil could do a lot better, and it hasn't been. So I think it's clapped even if you have the same president and incumbency and everything else. But I also think then if it did switch, there's going to be a negative reaction off of the Biden win if that did occur. So I think oil is going to be clapped no matter what. And then gold, similar type of logic looking at it. I think gold is going to hold its levels either way. I think you've already have 0% interest rates and everything else kind of aligning where gold has been kind of a favor, even stuff like cryptocurrency. So I think gold will hold its levels. But if Biden did take a win, I think you're going to get inflationary policy with gold, and then that could make it rip a lot. But I also still think gold can go up under the Republican presidency as well too. think you're just going to get more fuel to the flame with gold and a Democratic win. And then finally, travel and hospitality. I think this is going to be a real toss-up depending on lockdown policies and then how that gets balanced by stimulus policies, depending on which side. Again, people are going to price that in or even overestimate that. I think on the left side, if the Democrats win, I think you'll get an initial pop. But I think this is going to be a real pivotal industry, maybe the hardest one to figure out and the one that'll have the most opportunity depending on who wins or loses. So these are some key sectors that you could kind of derive companies and ideas from, but I think healthcare and banking, again, they take the cake. So watch them. Another one, Uber. This is what we're considering adding. I might scale in for the long term, half before earnings and then the election and then after. Really, I would only buy this just to show you guys what would happen purchasing before an election, because this has been such a hotly contested idea and talked about with the long term. So I would want to do that, but I still like Uber for the growth, and they went up today, but they're also going to be affected by the election in Prop 22. So I think that'll be important. But watch Uber. I like them. I think they're going to balance out over the next few days because they did go up a lot today. So watch them. I like Square. The chain is expensive. Again, they moved a lot, and I think they're going to move a pretty decent amount. But the question is, do we agree with the option chain or not? And pretty much what I mean by that is I'm expecting it to move within range. Usually the market makers have been pretty right on it. Square has been a very hard one to trade because it has such high expectations. But watch them for earnings, and the same logic applies for Roku. But I want to look at Roku. I'm going to look at them. Again, I want to use the same strategy, but I think Roku could move a lot. It kind of reminds me of Netflix, but Netflix did different things, their earnings, that might have buffered some of the moves. So I think they might have a good catalyst on both up or downside. And again, similar type of industry. So those are going to be the three I'll be watching tomorrow. Again, these industries, and hopefully you guys got that from this analysis of them. I'm going to be watching these, it's not just about tomorrow and the election, but these might even play out over the next few weeks and lead to play. So we will definitely expand upon this. But as far as everything else, the main events even tomorrow, watch Apple, Amazon, and Facebook. All of these companies did bad today, surprisingly, with the market going up, and I thought that was interesting. And remember, you're also getting their continuation. So I want to see how all of these play out. They were even a little bit more volatile, but the performance of tech and even putting that in scope of the election, that is going to be important. So watch all those. Watch Google. Google has been the favorite. They did good on the earnings, and they're actually holding up. So I'm going to be watching all those. There is earnings, ain't it? I grabbed a put play, one of the cheap $30 ones. I ghetto spreaded it on the small one. Then I had another $40 one. I didn't ghetto spread, but they beat on the upside. But you would have had to still spend $200 to get in the money on those calls. So we didn't really miss out too much. The small options earnings play strategy has done very, very good. But watch ANET, even PayPal, they might be good for a continuation. And now even watch how Square gets any sort of sympathy off that or anything of that nature. Watch them. Snap was shooting up after hours. They've just continuously been a safe haven. So just keep an eye on those, and we love them. Again, Roku, watch them. Qualcomm has earnings. I like them. I talked about them on yesterday's watch list. I was looking. I just want to see if they're going to get steam. I don't think NVIDIA did too good today, and it was a little bit shaky. And comparing them to some of the other names, they moved a lot more. So I don't know if the option chain is right on this. It's not really that big of a mover, but if they did surprise, that could be good. But watch them. Watch Uber. I like them, again, for many reasons, but I want to watch coming into their earnings. I believe it's on the 5th, so you have a few more days, and this is a big move. So pretty much watch to see if that continues or not. And then UNH and Cigna, this is for the healthcare. I don't have any plays on these, but like I said, coming into the election and even factoring that in now with banks like JP Morgan, and we saw their little rip up there the other day, but you could see how they've kind of been pinned down at these levels. This is why I kind of like them, and I think relative to the election, they might either flip-flop or it could confirm their moves in the directions they're in now. So watch them. And then Caesars I like as a hospitality play just because it got killed a lot and then bounced up a lot. So I'm going to be watching those. And then finally, USO is going to be important. They had a move today. They came up. I wouldn't even be surprised to see this affect the market, but tie that into the broader theory that we've talked about. Watch GLD like we said. And then TLT really is going to be based off of Powell, more so the election on Thursday. And then UVXY and then UUP. I talked about this today. Pretty much UUP is a global indicator, shows you kind of like the global surprise is the way to look at it. And then UVXY is kind of telling you put to call ratio domestically. So keep that in mind so you could analyze it properly. But tomorrow is the day, after hours, and then the trading session in the morning. It's going to be exciting. excited. You have literally waited all year for this, so I hope you're ready. Don't get too jumpy, but that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you're hydrated, healthy, ready to go. Make sure you post your watch list. Make sure we see you there in the morning. I need the armor on. I need the helmet shining. I need you to do the small things, the small good decisions with greatness, baby. You never know when the moment is there, but the code loves you. I love you. I'm going to see you in the morning. Let's go.